Let's explore the science behind mantra meditation that nobody talks about. You'll notice this is a little bit clunky. The bundle of word I've been using is just too old and it's falling apart. So I'm temporarily working with Google Docs, which is clunky, but at least it's somewhat getting the job done. And although this isn't the level of professionalism you're used to, I do beg your indulgence. Now that I've done my mea culpas, my digital mea culpas, let's return to the topic at hand. We're going to explore this from 2 points of view: neuroscience and pragmatism. And we'll see how they kind of blend together. When we rely on active concentration as well as active contemplation, for some reason, our blood tends to collect in the seat of aggression and anxiety known as the amygdala, located at the bottom of the limbic system. I think it's safe to say that most of us did not turn to mindfulness and meditation because we were sensing a deficiency of anxiety and aggression in our lives. Au contraire, we want less of those bad boys, not more. Fortunately, there's an easy solution. When we swap out, when we replace active concentration with the passive mindfulness that comes from accessing our sympathetic nervous system in the thoracic region of our spinal cord during our inhalation, and when we replace reliance upon active contemplation by simply using our exhalation to access our parasympathetic nervous system in both the lower lumbar region and the tippy top of our central nerve of our spinal cord, then our blood mass effortlessly shifts from our cranky amygdala to a bit of tissue known as the anterior cingulate gyrus. Found just a few centimeters behind the forehead, this hunk of meat serves as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. So this is very, very useful information. Now, how are we going to apply this to our practice or to our mantra work? Glad you asked. Welcome to the world of the pragmatic. We're going to apply this in a two-step manner that relies both on the inhalation, which is crucial to mindfulness, and then the exhalation, which is crucial to meditation. Let us begin with the inhalation that is crucial to passive mindfulness. During our inhalation, we're going to read silently and we're going to recite silently and mentally and passively. This is important. Recite an italicized statement. In the practice text that's available for free download and that we're going to work with during this morning's... Whoops, I'm having some problem here. Oh boy, having some real problem. Okay, well, that's taken care of. Woohoo. Okay. When we use the practice text that we're going to play with this morning, that is available for free download, we come across 44 different versions of a statement, an italicized statement that we can play with passively, silently, and mentally during our inhalation, which is great. Now let's turn our attention back to the idea of passive meditation accessed during our exhalation. Now, I will remind you, or try to remind you, that the parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release, bearing that in mind. During the exhalation phase of this practice, we physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. And so what you see occurring is this. Number one, we're using mantra meditation purely because it's tonifying. If all we did was silently limit ourselves to silent mindfulness and silent meditation, that could produce spiritual results. However, for many of us with disabilities, it's too sedating and it sends us into an unsustainable state of stupor or lethargy. So for those of us who are differently able, we rely upon the energetic, the electromagnetic effect of playing with specific mantras to really give us the energy we need to, the energetic momentum required to truly thrive and to make our practice of mindfulness and meditation sustainable for the rest of our lives. So what are our takeaways? There is a mindless way to practice mantra recitation, but there is also a spiritually productive way to practice mantra meditation. This is not based on superstition, but rather neuroscience, which can be confirmed through fMRI, or functional magnetic resonance imaging studies. Simply put, by working with a very well-worded statement during our passive inhalation and physically relaxing during our actual verbal recitation, we can find that we have a usable system that functions in harmony with our vitality and our central nervous system. Typically, what I recommend doing is flip-flopping, just like when you cook pancakes. First you do mantra meditation, then you do silent meditation. And I recommend, after decades of practice, full-time, 8 hours a day, practice and study, what I've found is that this is the easiest and the quickest and the most reliable method. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. And by the way, I must apologize. I am disabled, and I've in the last 12, 16 hours, my workload has been intensified, and so I'm not really operating on all 8 cylinders. And so if I seem a bit spacey this morning, that's why. To paraphrase the words attributed to the real or imagined Peter the Apostle, but what I have, I share with you. So I look forward to playing with this with you, to chanting with you, and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent more than 8 hours a day, every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. So the name of this morning's practice text is Kind Gaze's Easy Meditation. Rather than literally viewing kind gaze as an entity to be worshipped or supplicated, the wise view kind gaze as merely an, I should jump back, kind gaze, known in Sanskrit as Avalokiteshvara and in Tibet as Chenrezig. Zig. Let us simply view kind gaze as merely an archetype whose iconography could remind us that we are wired to master, no less practice, awareness and letting go, love and letting go, as well as bliss in letting go. As I mentioned during the opening bit, during the class, we're just like cooking pancakes. We are going to flip and flop between mantra meditation as well as silent meditation. Therefore, I think it could be useful for us to chant the concise reminder of the mantra's meaning. And here we see in Tibet the mantra chiseled into a stone. This is called a mani stone, and it's comprised, a wall is built out of it. Every time the communist Chinese tear it down, the Tibetans just build it back up again. Please chant with me. Om, I invoke the wish of handing mani, jewel of love, and the purifying baby lotus of letting go. Supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. So I remember many years ago when I first was confronted with the idea of mantras, I was scared that I would be invoking some real or imagined entity, malicious and powerful and sneaky, and I would somehow be making this Faustian deal to roast my gonads eternally. I was always happy, therefore, when teachers would translate mantras. However, the teacher could be mistaken or deceitful. Fortunately, we can always put a mantra to the test in the laboratory of our body and brain. Play with a mantra for at least 5 minutes, once every 12 hours or so, for 7 consecutive days, and then notice your results. If you've grown in anxiety and crankiness, then that is probably not the mantra or the teacher for you. However, if after working with that mantra for about 5 minutes a pop, every 12 minutes or so, for 7 consecutive days, you are more peaceful and more loving and more joyful and more resourceful, then you know you may have stumbled upon something useful. Well, that was the wrong button. Let's try that again. I'm so used to working with Word. We come to our first exercise of bliss and letting go, described in Tibet as Lama Kyeno and translated into English as calling the teacher as from afar. Let us decode the imagery. The brass figure reminds us of the enlightened potential of our central nervous system. The red figure depicting the two individuals sporting in tantric union literally reminds us of the sensations we could feel at the crown of our head, and figuratively remind us of the teachings. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. If this is your first time playing with the 6-syllable mantra, please be kind to yourself. Please give yourself, if there is such a thing, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Play with this 5 minutes every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, this could feel like old hat. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So please remember to physically relax as best you can whilst striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. After you've grown accustomed to this 6-syllable mantra, during the recitation you may wish to gently rest your eyes upon the one word in the italicized statement that is in all capitals. You don't have to, but you may find it useful. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. In the next 4 lessons, I intend to baby step you to the point where you really are comfortable with mindfulness and meditation, in just the span of 10 minutes or so. Wrong button. So let's begin with mindfulness. As I inferred during the opening lesson, every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system. No, it is not found within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, but instead, it is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. No, it has not evolved to indulge either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. What has it evolved to do? What it has evolved to simply notice, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Yes, vulnerability could be the key that opens the door of mindfulness. Perhaps that is why the 2 figures comprising the archetype of meditation are depicted as naked. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago that our sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to indulge our tendencies towards active concentration. Well, if that's the case, and we are not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breathing, then what could describe our relationship to our breath? I would suggest to you that we could relate to our breath the way a piano student relates to their metronome. Thusly, when we notice our body breathing in, they could silently and mentally recite the 12-syllable phrase of observation, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And when we notice our body exhaling, we could recite its counterpart, silently and mentally recite it, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Now you could say, dude, 12 syllables is really clunky and awkward, just like me in junior high. And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. As I mentioned, I'm going to baby step you through 4 exercises. A 12-syllable exercise, 2 3-syllable exercise, and then cruising altitude, a 1-syllable exercise. So let's suspend fear and play with this for a few minutes. So I'm going to play with this for 12 rounds. A round is 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. Now because I'm breathing quickly because I'm talking quickly. Therefore, in the time it takes me to do 16 rounds, you might only knock off 8 or 4. I'm going to use a method that I describe as Bengali crease counting. It is by no means mandatory, but you might find it helpful. Upon my left palm, I'm going to advance my left thumb during each inhalation, counting upon the creases, the sets of creases and tips found on each of my 4 fingers. Our next 4 exercises fit in the outer set of preliminary practices. Which I'm going to present to you, not from a rigid point of view, but from a flexible one. When we choose vulnerability and allow ourselves to notice others' stress, we could find that it sows the seeds of empathy in our own experience. By the way, if you've just joined me, welcome aboard. Or I should say, arg. Welcome aboard, matey. So, as we breathe in, let us silently, mentally, and passively recite this italicized bit. During our exhalation, let's physically relax as best we can while striving to verbally chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Short and sweet. Wrong button. Let's try that again. There are plenty of ghoulish individuals who can't wait to frighten us, but you know, fear makes us cranky. Love makes us peaceful. So let us view interdependence as not as a vehicle of karma with which to drag our tushy to hell, yuck. Rather, let us view interdependence as the means by which our love could lighten others' load. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Once again, ghoulish folks can't wait to frighten us with fears of death and inauspicious rebirth. Dude. What is the most productive use of our observation of impermanence? Simply this. If we don't last forever, and our possessions don't last forever, then grasping doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, if I wanted to be all fancy smanchy, I might say, with the changing of the seasons, we notice the impermanence of a year. With the waxing and the waning of the moon, we see the impermanence of a month. With the rising and the setting of the sun, we see the impermanence of a day. With the swelling and the sinking of our chest, we feel the impermanence of a breath. Ever-changing, one and all, there is nothing permanent to grasp. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Excuse the yawn. Yep. If we wanted to, we could guilt ourselves or should ourselves into a frantic state of neurosis. But that ain't fun. Far better it is to do the right thing in the right way at the right time, simply because our choices, utterances, and deeds are flowing in effortless efforts, centered spontaneity that is generated by the love, which is generated by mindfulness meditation. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As promised, so let's now take a moment to review mindfulness. Every time we breathe in, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to notice sights or sounds or sensations or flavors or scents or the like. We are wired to notice emotions or intentions or thoughts or memories or imaginings. Now, the $64,000 question is this: what do we do with that which we notice? And the answer is we meditate. But how does that work? Every time we exhale, whether we mean to or not, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. As such, it has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now let's put this together. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, Ask an English teacher, they'll tell you a simile is only as useful as it is practical. So what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could be tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. Perhaps that is why this couple, functioning as an archetype of meditation, are depicted as translucent and non-graspable as a rainbow. The easiest way to practice mindfulness is to, during our inhalation, silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. The easiest way to practice meditation during our exhalation is to silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. We turn our attention now to the inner set of preliminary practices, inspired by the final meditation manual of the great Tibetan yogi Za Paltrul Rinpoche, whose text, The Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones, is enthusiastically lauded by the current Dalai Lama. Let us empathetically yearn to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of runaway hate and greed and possessiveness, also known as hating and craving and clinging. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. It's awesome that we want to help folks, but we got to be practical. The only way we're going to be able to so master the Buddha's teachings that we're able to help others apply the teachings effectively is for ourselves to rely upon Buddha's example, whether he was real or archetypical, the teachings attributed to the Buddha, and the students of those who are effectively striving to master the Buddha's teachings. These three are known metaphorically as the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. Ooh, excuse me. How rude. You know, defensiveness is a highly efficient way to squander our time, energy, and relationships. Therefore, it lets us choose to learn from all our numerous mistakes. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. You know, the NASA astronauts, not only are they super qualified, but they trained over and over and over again. Because many people feel that repetition is the mother of skill. Bearing that in mind, many people, and rightfully so, many people are terrified of death. That is a survival mechanism. Therefore, they choose to rehearse their death. And they choose that at the point of death, they choose to coalesce their real or imagined energies within their central channel and their heart, and to eject their subtle mind like an arrow up their central channel, out their crown, and into the heart of their real or imagined teacher, who is merely a metaphor of the ultimate teacher, the wisdom of mindfulness and meditation, or also known metaphorically as the vast expanse. Having mastered mindfulness and meditation, the person recently ejected from their body might look down on their former possessions, their body, their items, their relationships, and the like, and wish to do something with that they no longer possess. Hence, they share their stuff. Sharing their stuff with all others everywhere. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us explore the first of two fringe benefits of meditation that I touched upon during the opening lesson. We'll start with some bad news. When we rely upon active concentration and active contemplation, our blood collects at our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety found in the lower part of our limbic system. However, here's the good news. When we replace active concentration with passive mindfulness, and when we replace active contemplation with passive meditation, then this same blood mass collects at a structure known as the anterior cingulate gyrus. It's found just a few centimeters behind our forehead, and it functions as both the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy, the basis of all morality and kindness. Perhaps that is why, for so many centuries, the Tibetan Dzogchen Lamas have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Perhaps this is also why the two members of meditation's archetype are always depicted as beautiful. During our inhalation, let us mindfully, silently, and mentally recite, "Notice this." During our exhalation, let us meditatively, silently, and continue to silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb, relaxing. Just had a brainstorm. I think it would be even more useful if for our third exploration of bliss and letting go, we could practice some energy work known in India as Guru Yoga and in Tibet as Lama Naljor. Again, this bronze figure represents our enlightened potential. And this couple sporting in tantric union literally reminds us of sensations and figuratively reminds us of the teachings. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let's explore the second set of fringe benefits of a regular practice, or that come from a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. This is best implied symbolically, and here it goes. When we observe the gal, who is the color of a cumulus cloud, actively sporting in tantric union, we can conclude that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. However, when we look further and observe the passive manner in which our partner appears to be savoring the same tantric union, we can conclude that not all spontaneity is created equal, and that the scattered spontaneity that we might experience perhaps after our third espresso will always be trumped by the centered spontaneity that is the fruit of mindfulness meditation. But wait, there's more. The more our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, the more our life could be like a real or imagined paradise or pure land, described or depicted in Buddhist artwork. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us kick back and enjoy the antics of mind, simply watching the antics of mind. During our inhalation, as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this, let us then, during our exhalation, relax into mind's non-graspable nature. As silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb, ease. Whoops, that was weird. Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the toasty sands of Tatooine under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. Having graduated our preliminary practice, we enter through the gateway of highest Yoga Tantra. Let us bring, therefore, the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. Some might call this leapfrogging over jealousy. Quick heads up, the next 8 italicized statements are going to be highly figurative. Now, we're going to emphasize love. Our goal is not to actively visualize or actively emote or actively believe or try to work magic. The primary thrust is for us to play with words and harmony with our breathing in a way that trains the neural pathways that are responsible for empathy. Let us lovingly intend. By the way, words lead intention. Intention leads thoughts. Thoughts lead actions. Let us lovingly wish that each mind of each being now possess enlightenment's wisdom, symbolized by a Buddha's real or imagined bija, or one-syllable mantra. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal now be as loving as the communication of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a polysyllabic mantra. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us lovingly wish that each body or form of each being now savored and enjoyed the health that we see depicted in Buddhist statuary as being possessed by a real or imagined archetype of enlightenment, also known as Yidam. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us lovingly wish that each circumstance or lot of each being everywhere, real and imagined, now be as fortunate as the real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati of a Buddha depicted in Buddhist painting. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. You know, the name of this couple that serve as a meditational archetype is manifold. In Sanskrit, they can be described as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mundara. In Tibetan, they can be described as Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo, Yabiyam. In English, they could be described as the All Good Ones, sporting in Tantric Union. How are we like the All Good Ones? Thanks to a happy coincidence of evolution, each of us has a sympathetic nervous system optimized for the practice, no less mastery, of mindfulness. Each of us has a parasympathetic nervous system optimized for meditation. Each of us has an anterior cingulate gyrus optimized for empathy. Let us view letting go through a physiological lens as we bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness this time into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized. Some people describe this as Tokal's leap over pride. As we breathe in, our minds could clearly perceive, emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. However, as we relax into the recitation of this mantra, this exact same mind, and the mind of all beings everywhere, can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined syllable or bija, comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, all relationships of all beings could be rather resounding. And yet, as we relax into our recitation of the mantra, all relationships of all beings could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. Oops, I got ahead of myself. As we breathe in, all bodies or forms of all beings could seem rather sensual. And yet, as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, these exact same forms could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined archetype or yadam comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. 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 Good morning and welcome to the tail end of this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window, and we'll happily answer it for you. Please do not hesitate. Please do not wait to the end, for by then my brains will have transformed into pudding. Do us both a favor and type your question in great detail as soon as it is heavy upon your heart. As we breathe in, each circumstance could seem rather apparent. And yet, as we relax into our recitation of the mantra, each circumstance or lot could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. 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 Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us, during our inhalation, let us kick back and simply watch the antics of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During each exhalation, let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the verb ease. Let us bring the 5 perceptions into the path of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, for it take 2, as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, whatever sights we might have seen during our inhalation could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a vast empty void. So, during our inhalation, let us silently, mentally, and passively recite this italicized bit. And during our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Or, I could say, while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Tameda, tamada. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into the recitation of this mantra, all sounds that we hear could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a vast empty void. That doesn't mean they're not there. That just means they're not as tangible as they might seem. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Excuse me. As we relax into the recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, all sense that we might have experienced during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, oops, never mind, I scared them away. Boo. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Well, that was ear-piercing, wasn't it? As we relax into the recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, whatever experience of taste or flavor we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Oopsie. As we relax into the recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, whatever sensation we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted the six-syllable mantra 40 times, let us, during the inhalation, let's kick back and simply watch the antics of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And during our exhalation, let's relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb, ease. Whoops, wrong button. Let us bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing into this. But what is this? This is whatever we notice during our in-breath. This is whatever we notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Whether that which we notice is external, internal, physical, mental, pleasurable, painful, interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. During our exhalation, let's physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this six-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted this mantra 32 times, during our inhalation, let us kick back and simply watch the antics of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And during our exhalation, let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb, ease. Let us seal this morning's practice with a love that wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. Please chant with me. May all minds of all beings lucid, yet void no be, as wise as a Buddha's mind, raised up, symbolized by a one-syllable vision. May all speech of all beings resounding, yet void no be, as loving as a Buddha's speech, symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual, yet void no be, as healthy as a yadam depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing, yet void no be, as fortunate as a pure land of Lord depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support the channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.